are we speaking with in studio this morning? Well, there is a name that is ringing out on the island of Tobago, even in Trinidad. And for those of you who are interested in anything happening in and around the Tobago, we're going to start the conversation immediately this morning in studio. I have with me Mr. John Procope. Yes, let's give a round of applause for John Procope for completing that amazing swim. He is in here in studio with us this morning, and we're going to head straight on into that conversation. Good morning, Mr. Procope, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me again.
Of course, an absolute pleasure. And we were talking off camera, but off air about a few things, and it's really exciting coming here this morning to have this conversation with you. That feeling, I feel as if I am the one who achieved that goal. So I feel a sense of satisfaction. So I can only imagine how you feel this morning having achieved that. So let's start there. What is the feeling like for you coming here and sitting this morning and having this conversation with us?
Oh, it's a really, really great feeling. It's fantastic to be back on land and dry.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. And it's just so amazing the things you can achieve once you really put your mind to it, and you prepare yourself for it mentally. And talking about preparation, what did it take for you in terms of preparing to take on this goal that you had set for yourself? What are some of the things you had to put in place mentally, physically? What did you have to do to your body, to your mind, to your relationships, in terms of how do you relate with people? You might have had to say, well, we can't go for breakfast today because I'm going to swim. So what did you have to put in to ensure that you were able to get to where we are today?
Well, on the physical side of things, it was a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment, but I have it easy, because all I have to do is show up on time to my early morning swim training at the YMCA pool in Black Rock, where my coaches, Rochelle Pear and Mosey Denoon, they take over from there. So as long as I show up on time, they do the rest. And it's, every morning we have early morning training, and this has been crucial for preparing me and improving my cardiovascular fitness, my swimming technique, and everything that was necessary to put together on a physical level to be able to swim for that period of time.
And I'm tempted to look at the video and comment on the video, but I want to talk a little bit about what was the inspiration to take on this feat.
Well, I've always loved the water. I've always enjoyed swimming, and I've always been somebody who's passionate about the marine life. I'm a scuba diver by trade. But originally, the inspiration for this swim was the story of Sandy's revolution. And that was what began to inspire me the most.
That is absolutely amazing. Talk a little bit more about the revolution so that people can have an idea as to, okay, so they're hearing now Sandy's revolution. What is it about? So just give us a little, you don't have to go into, but just give us a little so we can have that type of information so you could make the comparison and see the relationship between that and your swim.
Well, I tell you, if you're familiar with Tobago, you'll know Sandy Point. And of course, this is called Sandy Point in honor of the slave who led the revolution at a time when slavery was being practiced in Tobago, but it had already been abolished in Trinidad and was illegal. And unfortunately, the revolution was quashed, and Sandy escaped with some of his followers. And we don't know how he did it exactly, because obviously it was a secret plan. But we have an idea that they could have swum all the way from Tobago to Trinidad if they did not have the use of a coconut branch raft and coconuts to take along for hydration, which they may have done. But that was the tale that inspired me to swim from Tobago to Trinidad.
Absolutely amazing there, of course, and knowing the history and having something to tie your goals to makes it even more, noteworthy, and more enjoyable and more satisfying.
Absolutely.
Dare I say. I was having a conversation with a chap yesterday, and we were talking about your swim, and he was like, this guy is 9 years old, and he was like, so isn't he afraid of the dark? When did he start the swim? Isn't he afraid of sharks? Was there a boat there? How did he do do this? So all of these questions I must bring to you this morning on his behalf. Weren't you afraid of the dark? Weren't you afraid of sharks? Was there a boat that you could hold on to?
Well, the irony is, I am afraid of the dark. I mean, to the extent that if it's dark, I'm not gonna just walk.
Right.
I'll be nervous. And it's the same when you're swimming in the ocean at night. You are nervous, and you do have to control your emotions. But at the same time, I had an extremely dedicated team of professionals who, many of them are experts in their fields. And I also, because of my scuba diving background, have an appreciation for the behavior of a lot of the marine life that people would be afraid of. And so when you put it all together, you weigh the pros and the cons, and he pays your money and he takes your chance.
That's right. And I see you there just recently on that clip that we were showing with a bottle of water in your hand, of course, having to remain hydrated.
Yes.
And I don't even see you holding on to the vessel for support there. This is a 100% commitment. Talk me through that and what was in your mind at that point in time.
Oh, well, just trying not to choke on the water because you have to scull, and you can float to rest, but when you're drinking, you can't float too much because you have to make sure you sip properly and you don't take the water down the wrong way. But I had coconut water, I had water, Lucozade, Ensure, and I stayed well hydrated. I had my electrolytes replaced, and I also made sure that I was not without energy. And so I also had CKA figs to make sure that I had enough inside of me so that I wouldn't cramp. And I think it worked quite well, because at the end of the swim, a lot of people thought that I would need to go to the hospital, but I felt quite good considering what I had just put my body through. And it didn't really take me that long to recover. However, I must say that the worst thing about the whole swim was the effect that the salt water had on the inside of my mouth. I wasn't able to eat solid food for a few days. So luckily I can eat solid food again.
Good. I'm happy. I'm absolutely happy to hear that. And this is, as I talk again about the level of commitment that you had to this goal that you set out for yourself, and of course giving Sandy his flowers. How long did it take? Because we're talking now about staying in the water for hours on end. That was another question asked by the young chap. Yeah. How long did the swim take? And we're talking now about not cramping up and ensuring that you're able to walk and stand after the swim. So how long? What time did you start? And what time did the swim end?
Well, we started just before 10 p.m. It was a little bit over 24 hours in complete duration. And there were times when I really felt like I couldn't go any further. The first 12 hours of the swim was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Wow. I felt really exhilarated and accomplished and excited, and I could feel that there were people along with me for the ride, cheering me on, and the crew that were supporting me on the ocean in those two boats of Predator were absolutely fantastic. So my spirits were very, very high. And then I went into the second half of the swim, and that's when things started to get very challenging. And there were a few scary moments, and there were moments when I thought that I could not make it. And on at least one occasion, my team convinced me that I was not getting back on the boat. And I did beg. I have to admit that. But luckily we had made an agreement prior to the swim, and it was agreed by everyone that I would only be allowed back on the boat if there was a medical emergency. I made them promise that. Right. So they kept their word, and we held it together. And just when I thought that I had no energy and I had been swimming in one area for quite some time without making any major progress, and it was beginning to get very frustrating, and we were going into the second night, that's when I had a very close encounter with an Atlantic bottlenose dolphin who swam with me for over 20 minutes. Wow. And this, I think, was one of the things that was crucial in helping me to get my mind together And as a result of getting my mind together, my body was able to continue.
That must have been an amazing experience for you there.
That was an absolutely awesome and amazing experience.
Wow. And what I like about this also is your team, having a group of people who you can be accountable to, who can hold you to your word and to ensure that, you know, you deliver on the things that you say you're going to deliver on.
Yes.
So kudos to your team.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And let's make no mistake. I cannot take credit for this without my team. My whole team should be here with me right now. I don't think we have enough room. But on this occasion, we had a 6-member team. And David McLean, captain of Predator, and Kester Thomas, captain of Predator 2. They were really the reason that we were able to make it successfully to Trinidad. The planning was very intense. We worked out what the conditions were doing by measuring the speed and the strength and the direction of the currents. And of course, we were lucky to have technology on our side because we were using the Windy app. And we were then checking to see how accurate the readings on the Windy app were in the actual ocean. And that's another benefit because Mr. McLean and Mr. Thomas are extremely experienced with the galleon passage and the waters between Tobago and Trinidad. So it was really their knowledge and expertise that allowed us to navigate successfully to Trinidad. My job was just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
That's right. So what's next for you?
Well, what's next for me is showing up on time to training tomorrow morning with Rochelle Pear and Mosey Denoon so that I can continue to, you know, get stronger and faster and fitter and improve my technique. However, I do have an ambition to swim around the island of Tobago. And so I suppose in the not so distant future, we may be having that conversation.
Absolutely amazing. I do hope we can have that conversation right here on the Morning Show on Tobago Updates Television. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Mr. Procope. We wish you the very, very best in all your future endeavors, and we are there with you to lend that measure of support as well.
Thank you very
Ladies
much.
and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. John Procope. He recently concluded that swim from Tobago to Trinidad in just over 24 hours with an amazing team there lending him that measure of support. You can do whatever you put your mind to. Surround yourself with a good team and a good group of people to hold you accountable to all that you have planned to do. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations in studio this morning, and you want to stay tuned for our next conversation as we speak with Mr. Joel Jack. He is former Secretary of Finance here in the Tobago House of Assembly as we speak about Budget 2025. We're going to go for a short break, and as we go, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.